Hi everyone, welcome to Tech Time with Arkan. I am Arkan, and today we're going to be talking about Freedom Mobile and LTE, so stay tuned. Our iNFOTV headquarters is located in the heart of Toronto, so that means some of us are with a telecom called Freedom Mobile. Freedom Mobile has recently switched over to an LTE 4G spectrum, and we decided to review and test out their LTE spectrum and their new phones. A quick overview of exactly what LTE, 4G, and 3G mean. So 3G and 4G, the G actually just stands for generation. It's a classification of the technology used in your cell phone. And how you classify them is just by the speeds that are available on your phone. LTE stands for long-term evolution. It wasn't quite on par with the speeds that were defined for 4G, but it was much faster than 3G. So after some market pressure, the United Nations agency, ITU, decided to incorporate LTE as the first stepping stone technology into 4G, and that's how LTE became known as 4G. So LTE is considered 4G, but cannot actually go up to the top end spectrum of 4G. It actually maxes out around 100 megabits a second. So that's why you don't get 4G speeds with LTE. It's quite faster than 3G, which maxes out around 20 to 22 megabits a second. Freedom Mobile, which was formerly Wind Mobile, is offering an LTE spectrum. The exact spectrum is called Band 66, and that's just a combination of a lot of other spectrums, including, I'm going to look at my sheet again, AWS-1, AWS-3, and AWS-4. So it's a smorgasbord of different spectrums. It's actually relatively new to Canada and never been used, so we decided to do a review on it. Because Band 66 is brand new and never been used before, it essentially means that your old phone won't work with the spectrum because it needs a new chip. So Freedom Mobile has to now offer new phones that can connect to that spectrum. And as of this video right now, what is available are 3 phones. Each phone is put into a different price range, from low, medium to high. The high one is the LG V20. The medium is the Samsung A5, and then the low is the ZTE Grand X4. The LG V20 is right now selling for around $1,000. The Samsung A5 will cost you around $500, and then the ZTE Grand X4 will cost you $250. Of course, all of this is in Canadian beaver bucks. I'm going to go over a few of the specs of the 3 phones, but you can actually get all the specs linked down below. Just click it. The $1,000 phone, the LG V20, comes with Android 7, whereas the other 2 come with Android 6.01. However, I think there is a possibility that they could be upgraded to 7 later on, just they haven't yet. The LG V20 comes with 4 gigs of RAM, the A5 comes with 3 gigs of RAM, and then the Grand X4 comes with 2 gigs of RAM. And then finally, regarding the front and back face camera, the V20 and the Grand X4 both come with 16 megapixels at the back and 5 megapixels in the front. The A5 is a little special and different. It comes with 16 megapixels both front and back. Also to note that the V20 comes with an additional camera at the back, a widescreen. It's very nice. The V20 is 5.7 inches in screen size, the A5 is 5.2 inches in screen size, and finally the Grand X4 is 5.5 inches in screen size. Now all those 3 phones are the new LTE spectrum phones that you can use to go on LTE. What we did also is include a phone that doesn't have LTE but that Freedom Mobile offers that is on their old 3G network, which is the Samsung Note 3, the non-exploding one. We've used them excessively for everyday life for about a week, all phones equally, but we've had 2 of them much longer. Using both the Ookla speed test and also the Google speed test, we measured our speeds at different locations. We tested both download speeds and upload speeds. After numerous iterations, we just averaged both of them, and you'll get a number for each. The big difference here is that between LTE and non-LTE, it's not even moving on the non-LTE, on the 3G, whereas on the LTE, you get a nice linear progression of speeds as you pay more for your phone, which I would assume has to do with the actual quality of the chip and the speeds of the chip that you're putting into the phone. There is a linear trend of dropped calls and misconnections on the LTE network, from the least happening on the most expensive phone, the LG V20, to it being okay on the Samsung A5, to kind of not being that great on the ZTE Grand X4 in terms of misconnections and just lower speeds. So you are paying for better service, regarding the amount of money you put into your phone. The LG V20, which is actually my personal phone, I actually really like. It's big, it's beautiful. I'm mainly a data user, and I've had really no issues with it regarding data. But again, it's a $1,000 phone. I have missed a few phone calls. Initially, when I did get the phone, every single time I got a receiving call, it would actually go right to my voicemail. There wasn't an option set. All I needed to really do was just update the OS of my phone, and since then, the update, I've had no issues really with receiving calls. I've never had any issues with outgoing calls. So on the A5, we were unable to send any MMS texts at all. No pictures, no videos, no, what were they called? The smiley faces? Emojis. Until we did our update, our OS update on the A5. Afterwards, then it worked fine. It was actually much quicker in terms of connecting when I first started with my LG V20 a couple months ago on the LTE. So clearly they've also improved the LTE. Lastly, on the ZTE Grand X4, this one was a bit of a headache because it's a great phone in terms of data, but the amount of received calls missed or the amount of missed connections, you'll just randomly get a notification from your phone that will say missed call or a voicemail. It could be kind of upsetting. It had a lot of issues, and it seems to kind of be hit or miss depending on the location where you are on the Freedom LTE network. So if you're in a dead spot or you're near a dead spot or your house isn't beside a tower, it can be quite frustrating because you're going to miss a lot of your phone calls and you're going to have a lot of issue with the connection times. On to then our fourth phone, which is the non-LTE phone, the Samsung Note 3. And this was a surprising one because, again, we've had that phone for about 3 years now when we were on the 3G network when it was considered Wind's network and not Freedom. And it ran okay. The speeds were much better than what they were now in terms of data, and the phone quality was also, the call quality is also much higher too. We've noticed that now we're getting tons of missed calls, tons of misconnections. It's not even recognizing the signal anymore. So something is definitely happening with their old 3G network. We don't know exactly what, but it's much slower and the quality has dropped a lot. Even in the areas where we had no issues with connecting and making phone calls, now with the new launch of the LTE, it's not even really doing well there. Our last testing that we've done for all four phones is the amount of time from pressing call after putting in the number in to actually the first ring. So as you can see from these averages we've made phone calls to both non-Freedom phones and numbers and to Freedom phones and numbers, and there's a bit of a difference. I don't know why this is happening, but clearly it's a pattern with every single phone we've noticed. It just takes longer to call another Freedom user. We actually went in to a Freedom Mobile location and had a discussion with some of the reps there, and then we also went online to look for a possible reason why. It could be, potentially, we don't know exactly why, but it could be because LTE, the Band 66 is new, their chipset will actually, from what they've told us, will jump from the LTE down to the 3G network. And the chip actually takes a little amount of time to do that. How much time that takes depends on the chip, depends on the phone, depends on the connectivity of where you are in reference to their network. Obviously, it's a growing network. They're still putting in the first towers into it. We're hoping that these times improve because it is a while to wait to make a phone call. With all that said, I think Freedom Mobile is aware of this, and because they were bought off by Shaw, Shaw has implemented a Wi-Fi network out in the West Coast. And they have now Freedom Wi-Fi there too. So Freedom Mobile is offering on the West Coast, which is not us, up until July, a free use of their Wi-Fi calling, which is, I believe, just VoIP calling. So to compensate for the connectivity issues, they're going to basically allow you to make phone calls over the Wi-Fi network for free. I wish we were in the West network to test this out. For anyone else on the West network that's currently on their Freedom network, I would love to hear feedback from you guys to say how it is. Let us know. Is it worth it? Is it great? Does it help you with all your connectivity issues? Because we'd love to hear from you. And then finally, if you're on the Wind network currently, and you're a Wind customer, and you're thinking, well, I have my old plan that's on the 3G network and I'm paying $35, $40, $45, and I don't know if it's worth it for me to jump on the LTE. I would say for that specific user, yes, it is a nice good jump to LTE in terms of speeds, in terms of quality call, in terms of connectivity. It seems to me that something's happening with their old 3G network. I don't know exactly what, but their LTE network is a lot better from our use, from our experiences from it. And then finally, from someone not a Win user, as you can see, it's a mixed bag of good and bad, and you'll have to decide for yourself, do those good outweigh the bad? So to summarize it in terms of the phones, you do get what you pay for. At the LG V20, $1,000, it had the greatest amount of data speeds, it had the greatest phone quality of calls, and had the least amount of dropped calls. So at $1,000, you get the best phone and the best service on LTE. Then comes up the A5. It's a good middle ground. It's not as great as the V20 in terms of speed and call quality, but it did not a bad job. And it's half the price of the V20 at around $500. So I think this is kind of the sweet spot for most of the users that don't want to spend $1,000 hand up front on a phone. They can just spend half of that, get still decent quality, decent speeds, it'll meet your needs, and it's a good phone. It's like a Samsung S8 Lite. And then finally there is the X Grand 4, which had the slow speeds. In terms of data speeds, not much slower than the A5. However, in terms of the connectivity issues and the call quality, that's where it kind of suffers. It had the most amount of drop calls. It had the most amount of missed calls as well. You'll just get a notification that there's a voicemail or you missed a call, and it had the low specs of all three phones with only 2 GB of RAM, but it had a decent camera. Again, those are all from our experiences. If you have an old phone that's on the 3G network and you have not noticed any degradation of quality of phone calls or your speeds, let us know. We'd love to hear that. We've only had one phone that was on the old 3G network. Give me all the feedback that you have on the 3G Freedom Mobile network, and give me all the feedback that you guys have on the LTE. How did you guys experience that transition? Was it good? Was it bad? Please let us know. I hope you found that helpful. That is our review of Freedom Mobile's LTE network, as well as their LTE available phones currently on the market. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you. And we have tons of other great videos for you to check out. This is Tech Time with Arkan. Arkan signing off.